Today on Max Kelly's Vegan Cooking Show, we're going to be making pesto. Our pesto is going to come together with a handful of fairly simple ingredients. First and most important is fresh basil, ideally of the Genovese variety, but any sweet Italian basil will work. You want to remove the leaves like so and discard the stems. For this recipe, I'm using 150 grams or about 7 cups of basil leaves. We also have 2 medium cloves of garlic. A lot of recipes call for more, but 2 will give you plenty of flavor without making the pesto overly harsh. We also have 3 tablespoons of pine nuts and 2 tablespoons of white miso paste, along with some good quality extra virgin olive oil. Other than that, all you need is some coarse or kosher salt and a large granite or marble mortar and pestle. You can make this with a food processor by adding and processing your ingredients in the same order, but the mortar and pestle produces much better results, so that's what I'll be showing here. We're going to start by adding our garlic and pine nuts to the mortar. Use an up and down pounding motion at first to break up the garlic and nuts, then switch to more of a grinding motion where you drag the ingredients around and up the sides of the mortar with the pestle. Continue until you have a smooth paste. Now we're ready to add the basil. As you can see here, I've given the leaves a quick rinse and haven't bothered to dry them completely. The little bit of excess water helps the mixture emulsify more quickly. Add a few generous handfuls of basil to the mortar at a time, and grind until pulverized but not completely smooth before adding more leaves. Once you've added all the leaves, the real work begins. We want to grind the ingredients down to as fine a paste as we can manage. It doesn't have to be perfectly smooth, but ideally we'll get rid of any long, stringy pieces of basil or garlic. It really just takes time and patience, but I've asked pesto expert and composer Frank Zappa to give us some tips on the best way to use our pestle. So what should we do, Frank?
The vigorous circular motion, rub it!
Thanks, Frank. Once you've reached your desired consistency, or when your arm gives out, add the miso paste and mash it in just to combine everything. Finally, we'll be adding our olive oil a few glugs at a time. There's no need to measure, but somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 cup should work fine. Just work it in with the pestle each time you add more, and stop once your mixture has emulsified. You'll notice that it turns a lighter shade of green and becomes somewhat opaque. If you're using a food processor, stir in your oil by hand rather than mixing with the blade to avoid creating an overly bitter flavor. Taste your pesto, add a little salt if necessary, and transfer it to a glass or stainless steel bowl for storage. You can always salvage the last bits that stick to the mortar with a slice of bread, or your fingers. Cover the pesto with a little drizzle of olive oil to keep the top layer from oxidizing, seal with plastic wrap or foil, and keep it in the fridge for up to 5 days, or freeze for up to a year in a freezer-safe container. Pesto tastes great on pretty much anything, but I'll show you how to use it in its most traditional application, as a pasta sauce. I'm just making 1 large serving of pasta here, so scale it up accordingly if you're cooking for a crowd. We want to bring a large pot of salted water to a boil, then add 1 small potato cut into 1/4 inch thick slices along with our pasta. Here I'm using linguine. Time it so that it will cook to al dente. For Italian brands of pasta, you can follow the package directions, but subtract about 2 minutes for American brands, and always give it a taste before draining. About 5 minutes before your pasta is done cooking, add a small handful of green beans cut into inch-long pieces. Just before draining, reserve about 1/2 cup of the starchy pasta cooking liquid. Add your drained pasta and veggies to a large stainless steel bowl. Stir in a generous amount of pesto, and add as much of your cooking water as you need to reach a nice, not too thin but not too thick consistency. I know the potato and green beans might sound like strange additions, but the creaminess of the potato and slight crunch of the green beans add a welcome bit of textural variation. Once your pasta is evenly coated, transfer it to a bowl or plate, garnish with some fresh torn basil leaves if you like, and enjoy.